American football in Finland.
The voice in your ears and the face on your screen. This is Perfect Purvis, and welcome to American Football in Finland. Join with me is my co-host, Coach Q. What's going on, Q?
What up? What up? What's back? We back.
Yeah, we're recording at a strange time this week, so we might have a third co-host. Chris might show up later, but that's later on. Before we get into it, AFF Podcast is on all places you listen to your podcasts, as well as we're on YouTube now, and we did a pretty good final couple shows on YouTube. If you're following us, like, subscribe, give us some stars. Whatever you do, anything less than 5 stars tells us that you are a hater. Don't be a hater because we're doing this for the community. All right, so this episode gonna just be one big blob. We're not cutting it into segments. Ain't nothing really to talk about. We here to talk about one thing. We're gonna try to give you a solid 30 minutes about it if we can. Maple Bowl 44. If you don't know, the Porvoo Butchers are now the champions. They beat the San Diego Crocodiles. I can't even remember the score,
Can
but
you
it was a lot
believe
to
it?
a little.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
All I really can remember is it was a lot to a little. At a time, it looked close. By the second half, Butchers took control of the game, and that was pretty much it. As you can see, I'm repping the Butchers hat, and you know why? Because I believed in them the entire time. I had nothing but faith in the Porvoo Butchers, as Dallas Cowboys as I might have called them. Q.
Still the Cowboys.
Interesting thing though, if you're listening to this podcast, like we're probably gonna put this out tomorrow, but the Cowboys came out and dominated the New York Giants. They might win the Super Bowl. It might be fruition. You know, if the Butchers can win the Maple Bowl, the Cowboys can win the Super Bowl. I think it's possible. They can 100% possible, and it could be the way. But look at that look you giving
Yeah,
me.
okay. Yeah, okay. Hey, we seen this. We seen this from the Cowboys. We haven't seen the Butchers do this in a long
True.
time. So this is definitely their year. I would say it's definitely their year. I won't go into a dynasty and all that stuff because that's a whole nother level of football, and we ain't gonna talk about that till next year. But they definitely, the Butchers, they surprised me. I'm gonna be honest, because even if you go back and watch the game, I know we're gonna get into it, but like even if you go back and watch the game, it was one person that we mentioned in our pre not pre-game, but I'll say it was one person on the Crocs team that was mentioned. And if you focused on that, you'll win the game. And I think at a point the Butcher said, we gotta go there. And as soon as they did, it was just pretty much a massacre. I don't think it was like coaching. I don't think that this game was a superly like I think it was bad coaching on both sides. I think one team, one quarterback just decided that I'm gonna pick on somebody. And they picked on the right person and it paid off. Like I don't even think it was like, oh, we coached a great game and all this right here. Like, nah, it was just simple football. And the Butchers won.
Yeah, just I guess we're talking just initial thoughts right now. My biggest takeaway from this game is that the Butchers won convincingly. Like, I mean, no matter what's happened this whole season, we've seen games and we've talked about all the different teams, and we pretty much I've said it. I don't know if anyone else has said it, but I've said it a few times during the season that the Crocodiles are beatable. Even though they were like winning all the games, I was like, you could still tell that they could be beat. And then when the Roosters went and did it, you're like, oh, code's been unlocked. But I still felt like, that was just a matchup. In this game, I had no inclination that the Butchers team that we had seen before this game could be any version of the Crocodiles team that we've seen before this game. And in this game, I saw two versions that lined up perfectly. I think the Butchers probably played their best overall football game of the season at the most important time of the season. And then also on the flip side, I think,
Defensively, yeah,
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 defensively.
yeah,
Well,
defensively, yeah.
offensively, I don't think they played like one of their like high scoring ones. Like we've seen them like put up points like ridiculously well, but considering the defense they were playing, I actually think their offense played really good to get the amount of points that they did. Like I don't, it's not like everyone scores more than 20 points on the Crocodiles. That's not a normal thing. So if you could put up that many points on the Crocodiles, you had a really good offensive day. And then defensively, like you said, I think it was probably the best, one of the best defensive performances from any team. And that's including, with them having a game where they had two pick sixes. Like it's just when you're playing a certain opponent, it just means a little bit more. And then on the Crocodile side, I think the Crocodiles probably played the worst game they played all season.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
and that
oh
and
yeah.
that's not to take away from the Butchers, and that's what I want to just keep y'all focused on the hat. I'm not trying to take away from the Butchers, but we do know the Crocodiles did not play their best version of football in this game, but that's why it's called football.
Yes.
I remember having a conversation with someone, and someone was telling me their son plays hockey, and he was like, why do they only play one game for the championship? Because like hockey is like baseball and basketball, they play series for championships.
Yeah,
And the woman said, well, the reason is because this is football. Any given Sunday, any given Saturday, one game, anything can
yeah,
happen. That's what separates it from other sports. And that's what
yeah.
this game was. It was legitimately, talking to both teams afterwards, talking to players, talking to coaches, everyone came out with the same thought about this game is that the better team won today. The better team won. Both
Today, yeah,
the Butchers and the Crocs both felt like, that day the Butchers were the better team. And the Crocodiles felt the same way. They're like, can't say that, they got away with something or we didn't do this. Like they were better than us today and they beat us. And even looking at how that team took the loss, you could tell they're like, it sucks, but at least we didn't like give the game away or let the refs steal it from us. Like we lost to a better team. There's still a little bit of pride taken in knowing that you lost to the best team of that day. And with the Butchers being the best team, like you have to be extremely proud that the way and how they played that game. Considering that this is the Maple League, there were a lot of times in this game where the Butchers could have gave it away, where the Butchers could have
no,
just got ahead of themselves and let the Crocs back in it. And the resiliency that they had to not do that was very impressive. So, I mean, again, we don't have a script for the show, but let's get a little more, detailed into the game. What are some like key takeaways you took away from this game on either side?
I think the major thing is you were definitely right by the Butchers being the better team that day. And that goes to show you about football. Like you said, the kid was asking about why we play only one game. So a lot of times in football, the best team in the league isn't always the champion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because the way that they play the game, it's such a physical game. I don't think, but obviously, I think if we could do 3 out of 5, a lot of things would look different for a lot of teams that win in football. But the good thing about it, we play football. So, but to get on the game, I think it's a disappointing loss for the Crocs and their organization. Like I said before the game, this game goes faster than any other game. Before we knew it, it was halftime. Um, and one thing that really stuck out to me is the way that you got there. I think they went away from it. They went away from it. I don't know like what was the offensive plan for the Crocs, but ending any game and Powell doesn't have over 20 carries is all coaching. And you could say that, once they got down, but when did they get down?
Not till second half. Like
Yeah,
it
so
was
it's
like
like,
fourth quarter, they still were in it.
yeah, so it's like, what was the plans of this game? Because Zach Whitehead hasn't he's played his position all year. Not saying he's played quarterback all year. He's played his position on their team all year. And I felt like they put it a little more in his hands in this championship game than maybe they should have. You do have good receivers, but you don't have those Miko Sepinens. You don't have the Lucas. You don't have those Lucas. Like, you don't have them type of receivers there. You got okay receivers that are I'm sorry, that are
You're okay.
possession receivers. Sokolov brothers, obviously some of them, possession more. You don't have the big play guys. So coming out of this game with Powell only having 15, whatever it was, less. I mean, it's a championship game. You don't have a game after this. Like, Powell has been putting in work for so much. I know he's a team player, and I know he took this loss with his players, but I know, like, deep down, an athlete in me, right? The athlete in me is always going to feel like y'all didn't give me the ball enough. You know what I mean? Especially in this thing. And if I'm the coach, if I'm the coach and we lose this championship game, I would rather lose this championship game with Powell having 30 to 35 carries. Because then I could say, you know what, this Butcher's defense really, really stopped him 30, like, look at the end of the game and see what his yards was, see what his production was. But I know for a fact I'm giving him the ball 30 times in this game. I don't care what the score is. I'm giving him the ball 30 times in this game. I don't know what the Crocs thought about throwing the ball as much as they did. But the Butchers also, I'm going to go to their defense. Wellington had a game. Like,
boy, did he.
He had a game. Like, we didn't talk about him much before the game. I know we mentioned him, but he had a game. And that's one thing I think the Bushes did do good about this year. They put the right people in the right places enough to where it could make up for the lack thereof.
Think about it. It took him 3 tries to get to Wellington at linebacker.
Yeah.
Like, he's the third American linebacker that they brought in. And it just shows the resiliency again that the Butchers had, that, hey, we're going to get the right guy. We're going to get somebody that can do this. And it really panned out, because, I mean, I don't want to get too much into, like, talking negatively about the guys that were here before him, but I don't think any of them would have been able to do what he did in this game. Like, it was really special.
Yeah.
It was
he
definitely
showed up.
Yeah.
He showed up. I thought he was probably obviously going to have a little more effect on the offensive side originally at the beginning of the game. I knew he could run sideline to sideline. I knew he was an instinctive player. But I don't think the Crocs really put forth the effort to really figure out, like, all right, we need to put him on an island some kind of way. And which is why having that RPO and running that zone read is very important. You got to make it to where he's not comfortable in there. This dude was like breaking up screens. He was like,
it also matters
on the field.
It also matters your formation and stuff, because just because what you said just made me remember that when the Roosters played against them, they did a wide trip set that pulled Brandon Wellington outside the box, and then they ran the read option. So he wasn't in the plays because of it, and that's one of those things where, I mean, you got to do your research. Like, that's all you got to do.
This is coaching.
Get him out the box.
This is watching film. Like, you have to figure out a way to get. All right, he got to move out here if we go to trips. Otherwise, they got to man up. If they don't man up, they got to play zone, which means he has somewhere to drop. So you got to use things like that. The other thing that I noticed, the Crocs were playing their backers inside as if Mickey is averaging 200, 250 yards a game. So Brandon is out here throwing these little 5-yard routes to the slot receivers all game because the inside backers were inside the hash. Like,
it don't make sense. Just listen to my sentence here. So very simple keys is, if you're playing against the Crocodiles, you want them to beat you with the pass. You don't want them to
Yeah.
let Christian Powell beat you, which is kind of what the Butchers did. I don't think they forced the issue, but they did it well enough that the Crocs went away from Christian Powell. And then on the other side, if you lose to the Butchers, you want
Mickey
it
J
to
to
be
beat
the
you.
run game.
The
You
run
want them
game.
to run it. You want them to run the ball in between the tackles. So you would give them looks where they would have to decide, do we force the pass into all these lanes or do we just take what they give us? But then you set it up where they're like, well, we can just play our normal offense. Like y'all not
Yeah.
doing anything to affect us. And it
They
again,
won in the pre-snap. Brandon Grinner was so comfortable with this game. He won in the pre-snap. The pre-snap told you everything. I looked at the Crocs linebackers, and the only time that they really moved out is when it was 3rd and long, where they obviously knew it was a pass play. But other than that, they were both inside backers was inside as if they were afraid that Mickey was going to gash them. No, what you do is spread your inside backers out, at least have them over the tackles. So now, if they do run the zone, they can come in, fill in the A gaps, fill in the B gaps, whatever you need them to do. But if you're sitting your backers inside the almost covering the B gap, like they're gonna throw the ball outside because for one, you got to run out there to make the tackles, and then your safety has to come down. Now you can't play. Now the Crocs can't play the defense that they really comfortable playing because now he's gashing you in his zone. So what you do next? Oh, let's bring our safeties down as if that was going to help, and now your exposure is there now. Now the one person who we said was been getting exposed all year for that defense got majorly exposed in the championship game by
I
a
feel like
18-year-old.
maybe people aren't actually listening. 18. Lucas is like 17.
Well, I mean, that's
He's
not
not.
that much difference,
Yeah,
but
he's not 18.
even
He's a
worse.
youth. I'm pretty sure he's
I
still a
won't say even
U17.
worse. I won't say even worse, but it's certain things when you're a certain type of athlete, there are certain
Yeah.
things that you're just not going to allow
We
against you. And it's just
we said it in the podcast beforehand. Like we said that, I don't know. Maybe people aren't listening to the podcast as much as we think. But we said if you're the Crocodiles defense, you don't want to put your secondary like on islands against this offense because you don't match up man to man. So you don't want to be in those situations. You want your linebackers to get into coverage and make throws difficult so the receivers have to catch in traffic. And again, no knock to Lucas Arola or anybody from the Butchers, but they're not the best like catch in traffic guys. If you watch the film and see when they catch the ball, there's no one underneath. There might be someone over top, but they catch it in areas where they're wide open. If you make those windows smaller, it's harder for them to catch it. Everything Lucas caught was like a post or coming across the middle where there's nobody underneath him and the corner is behind him. So the ball just has to get there. He's catching a clean ball.
He was open on all his touchdowns. Wide
he's
open.
just open.
On all his touchdowns. On the same person.
He's beating the corner, get it open, and there's no safety help, there's no linebacker help. And it's one of those things where you're just like, why would you and again, it's not like they were sacking Brandon Winter. Those linebackers weren't, I don't know if they were blitzing. Honestly.
Crocs D-line didn't show up. Crocs D-line did not show up at all.
I disagree slightly about they did show up, more to the fact that I think that the Butchers O-line knew how to play them. And also Brandon Gwinner was on his P's and Q's. Like you wasn't going to tackle Brandon Gwinner in this game.
Do you know
that's one of the best games I've ever seen a quarterback have.
I feel like I've seen him play in better games. Like even when he was with Voss, I think I've seen him play in better games. But what he didn't
statistically,
the decisions he made in this game were he's going with his first decision. Like he wasn't like out there trying to read a whole bunch of defensive stuff. He was like, I got him one-on-one. I'm going to him.
He played this game like it was his last. And that's the biggest difference. He played this game like it doesn't matter what happens tomorrow. Like I have to do what I know will work right now so that we win. And that's what was really exceptional about Brandon Gwinner is that, again, I think statistically, no one's going to look back at this game and be like, oh, man, it was the best. No. Besides Lucas Arola having 3 touchdowns, like, that might be one of his best games. But when you look, the game that Brandon Gwinner had, this is, in my opinion, the best game I've seen him play this entire season because, like you said, his decision making was so decisive.
Yeah.
He utilized his legs like he told us beforehand. He said, I'm going to run more. In this game, he didn't really hold the ball too long looking for receivers. If he was going to run, he was going to run. He had that one play where it was like 3rd and long, and he, scrambled and got like 20 and put them in a better position. I was like, that's classic Brandon Gwinner right there. And we haven't really seen that all year. We've seen a guy who's kind of building his team up all year and trying to help his team win. But in this game, he took on that role of, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes because there's no tomorrow. And it was just really great to see in this game. And I've never been so happy to be wrong before. Like, I was wrong about who was going to win this game, but I was very happy about the way the Butchers came out and won this game because everything that we said that they can't do, they did. Everything that we said is, an issue for them.
And Miko
they
and Miko
corrected.
Miko Sethner had a good game, small, like a tough one. He was getting a lot of first downs. And that goes to, I'm just gonna stick to the defense side of the conversation because, like I said, it's championship games are different for many reasons. It brings the best out of other people that don't really do anything during the season. Not saying Miko. I'm saying just outside players like Wellington. He played decently good. You know what I mean? For most of the time he was there. This game he showed up miraculously for them. You know what I mean? That's what you want. That's what you want. Like these games is when your money makers, the guys who you count on, have to show up in these games. That's why I say the Crocs laid down defensively. They D-line defensively because somebody has to make a decision. See, this is the new football right here. This is the new football players. I'm gonna show you. It's like it's all like show. It's all show. It's knock my head against the wall. I'm pounding my chest. I'm doing all this right here. But then at the end of the game, the stats say you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. And it's more intimidation like it is. It's like the Crocs have been walking around all year like they're just this big intimidating defensive line in which they have been putting in some work. I'm not taking that from them. But all those games don't really mean anything if you don't do it in a championship game. Like if you don't come out here and Brandon Gwinner was comfortable. Like he was so comfortable in this game. And they allowed that, coaches. Okay, the blitzes that you did call, they weren't effective like that. Your DBs, I mean, we didn't see Yuhani really on defense at all. It was a weird I hate to say this, but it was a weird championship game. I'm gonna just be honest. It was like a weird, awkward championship game because watching it, I'm like, oh my, you don't really know which way it's gonna go at first, but then obviously the Butchers started pulling off, and I was like, the Butchers made a decision at halftime that they're not going to linger around with the Crocs anymore, and you can't take a team like the Butchers lightly because of the way the last game ended, and it's like you have to be prepared to say, okay, I feel like the Crocs went through their championship week like it was another week, like it was another regular season practice. That's how it looks. That's how it looked on the field. Because it's like, all right, cool. Remember we was talking about the first play of the game? Remember we said who's going to touch the ball? You was right, though. You said they'd never give him the ball the first play of the game, the first drive of the game, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said they should give him the ball in the first play.
They should, but they don't.
To set the tempo, but they don't. So the Crocs, I think, stuck with what they've been doing all year. But luckily, all the other teams have been subpar to them and to everybody else. When you look at it, there was no consistency besides the Crocs all season. There was no consistency like that. The Butchers were consistent a little bit, but if you look and say the team that lost 4 games or 3, how many games they lost?
4. They lost 4. They went
4
8
games.
4.
They lost 4 games. You tell me a team lost 4 games, win the championship? Like that's rare. It's so rare. It's so rare.
Let's throw Chris Green in here for a little bit, guys. It looks like we might have a third guy coming. Did he show up?
I think
I just added him.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like,
but yeah, it's rare. It's rare in any league that you play in. The championship team never has 4 losses. You can only do that in Finland. It's only in Finland where something like that will happen, man.
Let me add on to that because not only, like the 4 losses, that's kind of crazy especially since the team that they played, the first place team only had 2 losses, really only one, 2 on the
Yeah.
record, but really only lost 1. So you think that it's a huge difference. But before the game, I got really into the stats. We attempted to do a pregame show on YouTube, and just the internet and stuff didn't work out. But looked into the stats. The Crocs, offense and defense, a lot of their statistics from the season were, number one, number two, number one, blah, blah, blah. Offense, defense, they're top 2 in pretty much everything. I think they're like number 3 in rushing or passing or something like that as well. But when you looked at the Butcher's stats, they're 3, 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 4, 3, 4, 4. And you're like, okay, this game might get ugly fast. But again, back to what we said earlier, in one game, it's only one game. And for this one game, the Butchers played way better than the Crocs. One thing that I thought was just kind of insane was something that you alluded to when we did the pregame, was that, it's the championship. Time goes by fast. It'll be halftime before you know it. And in the first half of this game, I felt like both teams were filling each other out too much.
Yeah.
It was one of those situations where I just what I said. I said that the Crocs like to do a lot of stuff in the first half to see what they get from the other team. And then in the second half, they decide what they want to do. But in this game, both teams were doing it. I really didn't like the first half from either team. I felt like, okay, neither team knows what they want to do. So they're trying different stuff, trying to see what works, see what doesn't work. And then halftime is adjustments. Now, at adjustments, Butchers came out and said, this is what we're going to do second half. This is what we saw. This is what we're going to do. Crocs came out and were like, well, this is what we normally do. Like, we normally come out with this wildcat with Christian Powell in the second half and mess around a little bit, and then it works out eventually. Like, they didn't really adjust to the game that they were playing. It's more like they just did their normal adjustments at half, because they didn't go to what would have worked. They didn't start feeding Christian to the point that you had to decide that you were putting 8 people in the box. They never forced the Butchers to do that. So, I mean, obviously, from my point of view, that's what I would have done from the beginning. But at halftime, I would have came out with it even more and pressed the issue. But they didn't do that. They adjusted to, well, I'm not 100% sure what they adjusted to, but whatever they did, the adjustment that they made, it wasn't as good as what the Butchers were able to give to them, because the things that they tried in the second half, there really never was any like, oh yeah, the Crocs can get this going. I didn't see any like success in the second half, while the Butchers continually were doing things that we saw were going to work. They kept getting one-on-one opportunities. Even if they didn't catch it right away, you could see that it was going to open up. I didn't see anything like that from the Crocodiles in the second half. And I really think that was the story of the game, is that one team progressed while another team was stagnant. Like, I feel like the Crocs played the first half just like they played the second half. And I feel like the Butchers played the second half much better than they played in the first half. And sorry to talk over so much while Chris is here, but Chris, give us your thoughts on the game a little bit, man. I mean, we've talked a lot already, but tell us something. We were talking about the key moments in the game right now.
I mean, we said about it in the pre-game show about Christian Powell, and I think Q said it best. Don't lose the game without giving Christian Powell at least 25, 30 touches. And they didn't do that. He had 17 touches, 15 rushes, and 2 catches. I said about this they needed to stop Powell. Well, in a sense, they didn't need to, because the Crocodiles stopped him himself by not giving him the ball. Like, I don't understand why, like you say, they were definitely feeling each other out. I didn't get it. Like, your identity. You're a run-first team. You've got CP15. You've got one of the best running backs in the
You know what? I want to
stop.
I want to stop you right there, because I think that's a misnomer that everyone has said this year, is that they're a run-first team. Like, we have to at some point just realize that they don't want to be a run-first team. They're better as a run-first team, but like I said, every game they've come out trying to throw the ball and be balanced. So it's a team with an identity, but they don't like their identity. They don't want to be a run-first team. And, as I say that, I'm remembering conversations. some people don't want them to be a run first team because I can tell you from experience without trying to be too I'm not trying to stir the pot, but I'm
You need to
sorry.
be politically correct, right?
I'm not trying to throw nobody out there, but you can't tell me that the San Diego Crocodile O lineman didn't want to run the ball. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. You can't tell me that line with them nasties, and we call them nasties because we've seen how those guys play. You can't tell me that group didn't want to run the ball. That tells me there's a little bit of confusion going on that organization, because I'm sorry, I've talked to, I know some of those offensive linemen for that group. They're confident in their ability. Not running the ball with that group and not giving them the opportunity to prove how good they are, that's just it doesn't mesh. But again, back to what I was saying was that we think that the Crocodiles are a run first team, but the Crocodiles think that they are a balanced team. That's the image they want to portray, and that's what you saw in this game, was a team trying to be balanced instead of doing what we've said before. But sorry, Chris, jump back into your point.
No, you're good. You're good to interrupt me. Like I agree with you. I think there's some kind of disconnect there.
There you go. That's the word I should have used. Disconnect.
Yeah, there's some kind of disconnect between players, coaches, whatever it may be, organization, where someone said, "Oh no, we don't want to be that run first team," or it was almost like an ego thing. I think, or we're going to show you that we can beat you without giving the ball 30 times to Christian Powell. But it's a championship game. What are you doing? Like, give the man the ball.
Yeah,
like Seahawks. It felt like another Seahawks situation.
Yeah,
like another Seahawks situation. Like, that's what it really felt like.
I just don't get it. But I mean, Whitehead wasn't efficient enough. Like, he had 22 passes, he only completed 13 and a pick for 88 yards. And you still want to try and pass the ball?
Hold on. Let me get in here, guys. You know, I like to play devil's advocate. And we've been talking about it in the group chat, so I kind of know how y'all feel about the Whitehead situation. I'm not going to blame Whitehead, first of all.
No, I don't blame him.
No, but about his play. I don't think his play was as bad as we think it is. I do think he had some horrible throws, especially when Sarkler was wide open. He just missed them. That was sad. But there were a lot of drops. They had a little bit of the Wassa Royals receivers going on out there. A lot of these receivers for the Crocodiles in the biggest game of the year, were dropping easy passes, simple wide open looks. There were fumbles after the catch. There was receivers just not getting any separation. That I actually can accept. You know, if you can't beat them, you can't beat them. But there were a lot of drop passes in this game. That's one statistic that we still never get in Finland, which we should start trying to get, because those drop passes, that's what makes passing the ball look bad.
Yeah.
When a receiver, you know what?
Go ahead.
Not to cut you off. You know what fixes drop passes? Run plays. You don't have to. Like, you don't even have to go through that. Like, you really don't even have to go through it. And if you do, like if you, as a player, if you don't understand how important every play is in a championship game, which I'll go back to again. I said this: everything matters in these games. Every drive matters in the championship game. You can't approach this game and say, "Oh, well, if it's 14-7 at halftime in a championship game, like, you can pretty much guarantee the team that has 14 is probably going to still adjust, even though they're winning. They're still going to adjust, because that's not enough to win a championship game, especially when you're playing against the team like the Crocs. And the only thing that the Crocs didn't do, the Crocs, I think, didn't, like you said, they're not happy with their identity. They're not happy being a team list. Like, okay, Christian Powell had 2,000 yards. All this right here. Now we get in the and I'm pretty sure people came to the championship game to see him, to see you premiere him. Like, if I've never been to a game before,
I was there. That's why I went.
Yeah, it's like you want to see this in person. Like, let me see what he's going to do. I know their team is good, but let me see what he's going to premiere him. Like, he got you there pretty much. I know it's a team game, but come on now. Like, majority of your yards came from him. but yeah, what I was saying was it's just these championship games, everything matters, all the drives matter, and you just can't put your team in a situation to where you have to rely on the passing. Of course, when you're down, um, then you have no choice, or you feel like you have no choice. But even in that aspect, I'm still giving Christian Powell the ball. I'm going. I don't care. Like if I lose, it's going to be because he wasn't productive. I'm not losing with me not giving him the opportunity to be productive, and I think that's what's important. And it comes down to it. The Crocs. This is probably, like I said, this is probably the worst championship game I've seen them play in. I'm gonna be honest. This is the worst one I've seen them play in out of all these years. I haven't seen them play this bad in the championship game before.
You know,
And it's just it sucks because I really thought this was gonna be their year, but now I kind of feel like they don't have a year. Feel like they don't have a year.
So let's talk about it. Like that's a good segue where you're about to go with it is let's talk about the legacy that this game has on both of these organizations. And I mean, obviously let's talk Crocs first. Is the curse real? Is it?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah. It's real. It's real.
I mean, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? They keep
it's
getting
real.
there and they keep losing.
Man, you know who I really feel bad for, and this is probably not the way we should do the show, but Yuhani, we know Yuhani. We've known him for a long
Oh,
time.
man.
He's one of the first
Yeah.
guys I bet, here. And I remember the excitement on his face. He coached with the Turku Trojans women this year. I think he's like living in Turku or something. So he's been traveling back and forth. And I remember seeing the joy on his face of winning that championship with that women's team because he had never won a gold. He was like, this is so crazy getting this gold. And I was like, man, it'd be great. He gets another one for the men's team, the team he's been playing with forever. No offense to the Turku team, but, this is his only first season coaching them. And then to not get it, like, oh, that's got to be painful. And I think it's one of those things that for this team of all teams, like if the Butchers had lost, I think there's a lot of guys over there who have never won the Maple Bowl that even that loss would have it wouldn't have devastated them. Again, them winning was no one picked them to do that. We didn't pick them to do that. They're not supposed to be there. We would have said their stats weren't even good enough. Blase. They're the underdog. So them winning is nothing but, house money. But for the Crocodiles, even in the interview we did, I think the coach said, this is a long time coming. This isn't something that just happens for them. Like they're supposed to win this game. This is, destiny. I think we said it on the podcast. This is destiny for them. This is their time. And then to not win is horrible. But to not win the way that they didn't win is just like adding injury to insult because it's like you get the opportunity. And one thing that, I guess it's an American thing, but speaking to another American who was at the game, we said the game was too big for him. Like when I think about those drop passes, the DB getting beat consistently against a matchup that everyone knew about. Those are the situations.
They must have been listening to us. They must have been listening to us because who did we say pick on? Pick on number 5.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
You said
That's
it.
what I said.
Yeah. It's one of those things
it's simple
that
football, bro.
But it's one of those things that we've seen, especially in Finland, and all three of us have played on teams in Finland. And again, I love this podcast because we really don't have any filter. We've said this before. Football-wise in the culture, the Finnish football player isn't the type of player that responds well to adversity. That's what we've said. We've said it many times is that, if you're on a team and your team is losing, a Finnish player will put their head down, start feeling sorry for themselves, and kind of go into that. And rightfully so, it happened. And in this game, you could see that there was 2 different responses to it. One, we were proven wrong by the Butchers because they had adversity in this game. There were things that didn't go their way. And you looked and you saw a team that was like, we have nothing to lose. So we will not feel sorry for ourselves at any point in this game. while you looked over at the Crocodiles, and in that second half, they looked lost. It looked like a team that did not know what they were going to do to come back. Like when they came to the sideline after losing the ball or not getting the first down, it was just frustration. It wasn't anger at the game or the situation. It was frustration that we don't know what else to do. And that's not the way that you want to lose a championship with a team that you think should win it. And I feel bad for this group that especially or specifically that played in this game. But then for the organization as a whole, I was on the sidelines, saw the crowd that the Crocodiles had was great. It was huge. They were loud. Everybody's wearing the colors. They had the horns blowing. You even had a little drunk section. They had signs. Like, they were excited. They had their back. Like, the fans were there for that team, and the team didn't give them anything on the field.
Mm-hmm. It sucks for them. It really do sucks because, like you say, are they cursed? Like, it sucks to say. Like, I won't say they don't have a year because they're still around. That's kind of tough.
It's been
But
20 years. It's been 20 plus years.
I've
And
never
they've
really
been there.
Since we started doing the podcast, I've liked the San Diego Crocodiles. When I was playing, I did not like them or their organization. Did not like them or the organization when I played. But I enjoyed it. Since we've been doing the podcast, I'm more biased about my opinions. Even with the Roosters, I think I'm harder on the Roosters than I am anybody. But
I don't know about how hard you are on them. You be rooting for them, that's for sure.
I said, man, I fired everybody this year. I would have fired everybody this year for the Roosters. But this ain't about the Roosters today. But
right.
I just think that the Butchers was the only team in the league that strategically made an adjustment when something came up with their team to keep them either getting better or the same. And every adversity they came in, get rid of a corner, get rid of a linebacker, get rid of, another. Like, it was like they were committed to not falling off. And the rest of these teams did. We literally watched one team, I'd say even the Royals at a point, if Timothy wasn't so good, I would have fired him too at a point because he threw like 9 interceptions in 3 games or something. Like, it was something crazy. But I would
have fired all them receivers. I would have just told them we just
fired everybody. But that goes to show you like the difference of the players. Timothy is a baller, so I wouldn't have done him like that because I know what he's dealing with. I know what kind of weapons he had to work with. So it makes up for it. But what I'm saying is, for the Crocs and the Butchers did everything they were supposed to do to keep them in contention. And they stayed healthy through this process. And they ended up being, like I said, one of the healthier teams, the most athletic teams, the younger teams. Their guys just gave it all they had. And then I look at the small things too. If you look at any time Arla scored a touchdown, Mickey scored a touchdown, Nottingham scored a touchdown, it wasn't just one player congratulating or two. It was like 6, 7 people running up to these dudes, showing them they love. Like, these brothers, these receivers, like, this the line. Everybody is congratulating. And when you got that type of energy and you that happy for your teammate to ball, that right there does something for your team. It does something for the organization. And you can look at other teams and it don't really happen like that. And you see the results. You know what I mean? Because you could tell that the Butchers are all bought into what they believe they can do. It don't matter who we picked. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I like the trash talk. I like the going back and forth because I want to see the best come out of these guys. I want to see them ball out. You know what I'm saying? That's why I told them, I said what I said about it. I don't think they still the best receivers, but they won a championship game.
Come on,
does that mean they
still
look?
Hey, you're gonna have to give that up, buddy.
Does it? Chris, let's just say this. Let's just say this. Me right now being 40 years old, go and score 6 touchdowns against the Wolverines. I got the most touchdowns. In the whole league. Does that mean I'm the best running back? No, it don't. It don't mean that. It just means that I played good that game.
is easily their third best receiver, and he scored 3 touchdowns in the Maple Bowl. That's how
and
good this group is.
Against probably the worst cornerback in the league too. So I'm not saying
That's
that.
tough. That's
I'm
tough.
not saying
now
that.
you're moving the field goal post on me.
What I'm saying is, I'm not taking away from him being good, but I'm not saying that they're the greatest because they played against some terrible talent either, though. Like, I'm not.
He's one of the best corners that this league has to offer this season. Like, I know it's a little weird to say it that way, but he actually is. He doesn't do well against that
can be
matchup.
The point. That can be the point. But what I'm saying is, I'm not judging people. I judge you off of how you play against talent. I don't judge you off of how you play against everybody. Like, if you know what I'm saying, like even Brandon Gwinner said, Zach Wright said he didn't count the
it was
the
Gwinner.
pandemic
Gwinner
season.
said he didn't.
Gwinner said he didn't count. He didn't really
count
the pandemic season, right? So that's why I'm saying the way that I look at that is only certain people do, but I'm judging you off of how you play against good talent, good teams. And then I say, oh, you know what? Hey, he's a legit baller because he can do this against everybody. Erla, he can do that against everybody. But
legit baller.
Or you know what I'm saying? He's a
all three
baller,
of them.
But
I can name them again. Lucas Erla, Miko Sepinen, Christian Nautanen. All 3 ballers.
Not saying they're not ballers, but
best in the Maple League. Let me put it up there.
If you got a team right now, all right, pick your receivers. American,
all the Americans,
or Finnish.
I'm picking all the Americans.
American
or
all
Finnish.
The
Americans. I'm picking all the Americans.
Okay, then. So
I'm picking all the Americans.
So you don't.
There's no team with 3 American receivers, though. There's no team with 3 American receivers.
But so are one of them going to be your second pick?
I'm picking 3 Americans, like receivers. I said. I'm picking 3 Americans. I'm not saying they're the best receivers individually in the league. I'm saying as a receiving group, they're the best in the Maple League. That's all I'm saying.
I disagree, but that's just me. But we can talk about this all summer.
I'm not against you disagreeing, but I am against you saying that the Roosters have the best. That I disagree with. That's where the argument is.
If they got Brandon Gwinner, if they got Timothy Moravec on that offense, they got Brandon Gwinner on that Roosters offense, we might see a different season. Like, I don't know, but we'll never know.
We should make an all-Madden team. We should put together an all-Madden team. Because the all-Finland team is about what they did on the field. All-Madden team, we have to give them some ratings, and we have to put them on a video game. Yeah, we have to separate them. All-Madden team would be different.
Yeah. Because it's like, I'm not saying it to take nothing away from the Butchers, because I really do like that. Like I said 2 years ago, I said the Butchers got a great young core. They got a great young core who's going to be good defensively and offensively. And now they're getting into that. Now they're coming up into that era. Now, let's see what happens. Obviously, we're talking about this season. Let's see how things go as far as organization-wise now.
Legacy.
You know what I'm saying?
That's where we're at.
Yeah, so
we talked about the Crocs. But let's talk about the Butchers.
That's the true definition.
How do you think that this Maple Bowl win plays off for the Butchers? I know we said, it's a little early to say dynasty, but, we got to make that leap right now. Is this the beginning? I mean, do we expect them to bring back Brandon Gwinner? Do we expect this to, be a starting point? Or is this more of at least they won. We'll wait another 20 years before they win again, or 13 years.
For them to do well, for them to do well next year, you're going to have to see some familiar faces back. You have to bring back, either bring back Gwinner or get another quarterback on his caliber. They have to have that. They have to maintain, importantly, they have to maintain their Finnish players as well. We talk about this a lot, like the Finnish core of each team. Yeah, the imports are important, but without the Finnish core, you've got nothing. Look at UNC. Look how many imports they had. All right, some of them weren't great, but you can't build a team around imports. You can build a team. You can help a Finnish core by putting a few imports in to make them a lot better, definitely through coaching, through playing, or whatever it may be. But without that Finnish core of players, you're nothing. So they need to keep hold of those. Maybe even add some more as well, if they can. Maybe it might attract some more players to go there now that they've won this season.
Let me ask a question about that Finnish core. What do you see as being motivation for some of these Finnish guys to stay around? Like, you have to think about it. A lot of these guys that are familiar faces, they've been around for a long time,
A long time. Yeah.
and now they won. That's when you walk off. Yeah, that's when you walk off.
Yeah.
Some of them might, yeah. Some of them
So-
might walk off. But I guess it's the promise of, okay, let's run it back next year. Let's re-sign Gwinner.
I'm
Let's
asking-
re-sign Zach Wright.
I'm saying, what kind of
Is that
motivation
enough
do you think you
motivation to
can?
keep hold of them?
Yeah, what kind of motivation do you guys think is possible for these Finnish old heads, as I'm gonna call them, that have been around? I mean, Kurvinen came back at the end of the season. He only came back for one reason, and we know what that was.
Yeah,
That was
and
get
it
this
worked
here-
out. It worked.
Yeah, get that
this
ring.
Yeah. See, he probably somebody like him. He probably done. I think somebody like him, but they can get a better player at that position where he helped out. They can get a better player. So,
Yeah, but do
like
they
Chris,
have one
like Chris
available?
said, but winning a championship also gives you a little bit more clout when looking for players. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but I still think the best players are going to choose Scorpio or the Roosters first before they go to the Portable Butchers.
Think so?
Just because they don't have the history recently
Yeah.
for winning like that. So when you look at it, you say, oh man, really the only reason Scorpios and Scorpio situations was because they got, you know what I mean, they lost Anthony. If I'm a running back, if I want to go play, I'm like, man, I go play for that line. You know what I'm saying? I seen what he did, and I know I can. You know what I'm saying? So you think about that, and then even the Roosters, you know, haven't won in the fashion in which everybody's used to, but I still think people know what you get with coming to them. You get organization, you get discipline, you get all the guys coming to practice. You know what I'm saying? You get all of that on the regular. So I think those two teams still gonna get the better type of players or the more known players. But maybe the Butchers, I don't foresee them saying, okay, we cool with one. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, because you think about Zach Wright, he fresh in Europe. Brandon Gwinner still can play. Mickey still can play. You even could consider Mickey going back to receiver and getting a real premier running back. That's maybe, you know, whatever. It's plenty of options, but I think for some of those players, yeah, it might be a one-off for them. You know what I mean? Like, but
what's interesting and when I look at their team is, if it's gonna be a one-off, it'd be for most of the guys that play defense.
yeah, Royko.
Most of their youth is actually on the offensive side.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're not calling Miko or Mickey young, but they're not old. Like, both of those guys aren't. They're not. You know, they're not in their 30s. I don't think.
If I was them, I'd run it back with them. Like you say, with those young receivers,
Your offense can run it back.
Yeah,
the defensive side, you would have to find a couple of guys to fill vacancies, most likely, because the young guys they had on defense were the guys that really were kind of their issues more than anything.
Yeah. And you don't want guys like you say, you don't want guys like Nathalie and like they're on the brink of becoming wanted imports for other teams. They're not there yet. Per se, I don't see maybe other teams reaching out to them right now to see if they want to come play for them. So what you got to do is promise them, hey, you're going to get you guys better. We're going to bring Brandon back, or we're going to bring, I assume it probably Brandon. I mean, I wouldn't change that up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to bring him back. So we're going to have our same offense pretty much.
Let me throw this out there for
pieces,
you.
So.
And now I got a hypothetical. I'm just asking questions because y'all are saying stuff that got my brain tickling. So, and we got to wrap this up pretty soon. We're just talking to be talking. But if we're going into next season, let's say hypothetically, you know, the Crocs and the Butchers bring back similar rosters, we're gonna have to do a preseason predictions anyways. I mean, we're not gonna do it till then, but right now, if you're feeling like getting ready for next year, who's your favorite? Who's looking like, oh, this is the team I probably would have to say is the favorite to win?
If the Butchers brought back all their imports, I would like them to add another offensive import, either that a receiver or a running back.
Not physically possible because they have two imports on defense.
Yeah, they got two. Yeah.
Yeah, but you could have two on the field at once. So you could
only have three on the team. You only got three on the team.
They changed that rule?
Yeah, they don't allow 4 on the roster anymore.
Oh,
Or if they do, no one has done it in the last 4 years.
I thought it was always 2 on the field.
On the
Like
field, yeah. But you used to be able to have 4 on the roster.
you
They
could have 4 on
haven't
the roster. Yeah,
I don't think they do that anymore. I haven't seen that.
really.
And when's the last time you seen 4 on the roster?
Trying to think. Oh, now you're
That's what I'm
testing me.
saying. I'm just
But
saying,
then
I think they
a lot of
changed
the
that. It
teams
used to be
will.
like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of the teams will just get those like Finnish American guys in
Yeah,
instead.
and that's why
Because
they've done that.
they're not going to pay extra for someone else. Okay, so let's say they get RJ Long or someone like that.
I was
for
gonna say
example.
there aren't any of those Finnish Americans that play running back. That's what you would be looking for.
Yeah.
Except for
Well-
me, if y'all want to bring me out of retirement, that ain't gonna do nothing for you.
Hey,
Yeah,
they
Hey,
might
that ain't
go
gonna-
get Will. It'd be a good time. What
You-
Will is from
you-
the UK though, right?
Will Young has, I think, Czech Republic passport, so he's an EU. So
He
that
would be a
is
great pickup for that offense.
that is a good
That'd be a
pickup.
good
Great.
Hey,
Yeah.
Christian Powell is technically finished now.
I tell you one thing: if there's
He ain't
one,
going
if
nowhere.
there's one team, that I really doubt Christian Powell would ever play for, it would have to be that team.
Yeah, he
I'm
definitely
with
playing.
you, yeah.
I
That'd be
would
a
see.
pipe dream.
Yeah, I would see him more likely going to the Roosters before going to Portville. Because
Yeah.
you said before, of all the times that they've lost, all the times the Crocodiles have lost the Maple Bowl,
This is the
this one
time where I felt like the team that they were playing better than them per se.
before the game,
Before the game, yeah, like
Yeah.
they weren't better than them. All the other teams they played against, like the Crocs had good teams, like great teams, but the team that they were playing were better. So they had to do everything in their power to try to win those games. It got close, you know what I mean? But they just had to do everything in their power to win those games. But this year was something different. But hypothetically, I mean, the Butchers can add to their offense. Their offense can be a lot better. Defensively, that's going to be the key. Which also you put it out there that if they're going to stick with the 2, why not go back to Wellington and Zach Wright? Why not go back to them? Give them a full season together. Obviously, they're great coaches. They're great with the players. They're great with the team. Why not try to run it back one more time? What can it hurt, really? You know what I mean? Maybe everybody probably asks for, extra 200 or 300 euro, whatever it is. They might ask for a little more. You know what I mean? But hopefully, I know it's other places that they could probably go, but I think they should try to run it back. I mean, right now you're the big dog. You want to try to
But
stay
would
the
you
big dog as
consider
long
them
as
a
you can.
favorite? Would you consider the Butchers to be your favorite going into the 2024 season? That's what I'm asking.
It's all hypothetical because you don't.
That's why I'm asking.
Hypothetically,
I know.
yeah,
I'm just throwing it out there.
yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay, I would say yes because they've just won the championship. Like they're a championship caliber team, so they've won the championship.
So you're giving them the Alabama treatment.
Be the favorite next year.
You're giving them the Alabama treatment.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, because the reason I'm going to say no is because I know one signing that could potentially put another team as a favorite. They could sign one person or 2 people, and their team will be the favorite, and that's Scorpio. I really feel like that. And that's a lot coming from me. That's a lot coming from me, but I think they're the only team that I can say after signing 2 people, they're the favorite. You know what I mean?
I thought for sure you were going to say the Roosters.
No. You know what? Because the reason I'll answer that too, because the reason right now, the imports besides Kittner, the imports that the Roosters bring in now aren't the caliber that I'm used to seeing them bring in. So that's why I wouldn't necessarily. I think they're going the money route now, more so. Like they're going to we're going to pay everybody this right here, and there is no hierarchy of players. So it's like, all right, we got an import spot. We only going to pay 800 euros for this, and now Now what happens is the guy that you want, he's too expensive, but the guy that you okay taking is okay playing wise, because you can't tell me Sinadinos was the best option that the Roosters could find a quarterback to come in. You can't tell me that. You know what I'm saying? You cannot tell me that. So in that aspect, what I'm saying is, out of all the quarterbacks that we ever seen the Roosters bring in, right? Out of all the quarterbacks we ever seen him bring in, he is probably the second worst. And I'm that's not saying like a bad thing, but there's one guy that got sent home, and then that's
Josh
him.
Hollinsworth. Josh
Yeah,
Hollinsworth got sent home.
and now it's him. Like you don't get what he got as far as the like Kittner and he doesn't have the big names per se on defense. Those guys aren't young anymore.
He has one
like
of the
that.
best offensive lines, though.
But he has one of the
really
best he has one of the best offensive lines. He has one of the best young receivers. And along with man, he like literally they can make one signing and also their offense change. But their defense is where the problem is gonna lie on the Rooster side. So I just don't think the caliber of players they bringing in right now are gonna put them back up to where they need to be. So they wouldn't be my favorites. But I'd say Corpio, yeah, Corpio definitely quarterback, running back, they're right back in the runnings.
I want to abstain.
I never thought I'd hear the day. I never thought I'd hear the day that
he would say Corpio. Yeah,
number one.
Because I seen the effect. I seen the effect of what one player did to their team. I see they literally collapsed as an organization, as a team. They collapsed.
I think personally,
I don't see Coach Pecker going through that next year.
You don't think so?
I don't. He wouldn't like. He's a competitor too much. He likes to win. I don't see him putting them in that position. They try Ambro, great try. Now you're going to be our backup. Like now you're going to be our back. They got to. Like, and he has to learn. He just has to get better. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to win and you want to win championships, he's not ready to lead your team to that yet. And if you're going to, and not saying he's supposed to quit or anything, but this is supposed to be for him. Like, football isn't one of those things, even in another country, football isn't one of those things you get to, oh, okay, we're going to guarantee you get to play. Like, it's not one of those sports. It's your production. Your production decides whether or not you can play or not. And in most cases, and I just feel like at quarterback is the one place where you cannot experiment and also try to win championships. You can't do that. Like, you have to have that guy in there who's control of your offense. When stuff get bad, when stuff go wrong, he's still talking to players. Hey, guys, you good? We good. Next drive, hey, that was on me. Next drive is us.
What about this? What if they bring him somebody like Danny Kidner out there?
Out where?
To Quopio. What if they give Ambro and Danny Kidner?
Nah, I still don't think he cuts it. Floats the ball too much. He needs time. If Quopio signed an American quarterback and Ambro played a year under an American quarterback, learned from him, got coached up by him, he would be head and shoulders better than he was this season in a season when he plays. Like, if he has a season off, learns, plays a backup role, the season after, I think he would be head and shoulders better than what he was this season.
He needs to spend all season watching film and working out, but more than likely watching film, but not just watching it, having somebody there who understands what he's seeing and showing him, hey, this is where you want to look in this situation. Stuff like that is not naturally, it's naturally there for some people, but European kid, like, he needs somebody to explain what he's seeing. Not saying he doesn't understand what he's seeing, but obviously from the game, you don't understand what you're seeing. You don't understand pre-snap, pre-check reads. You don't understand anything like that, because there's no way you bagging up 2 yards, 3 yards, and just throwing the ball in double coverage. Like, that's you. You know what I mean? So I feel like they can be a lot better if they let him. He could be a lot better if they just let him learn and let him get more experience, however they do it. But also that goes into a whole nother conversation of Finland not having quarterback camps on the regular, not having people from the outside come do things like that to develop that certain positions, because you can't grow up in Finland and this is going to be this amazing quarterback. Like, it's possible, but you need the teaching, you need the coaching. Miro went through years and years of mediocrity until he got to a point where he was that 50 touchdown guy. And that was the back end of his career.
It was a very short period.
Look how terrible he was when he was playing with Turku. Miro.
It's like, and
It's
that's what I'm
awful.
saying. The quarterback position,
That's what
you
Ambro's
can't
gonna
do that.
be.
You can't
Give
and that's
Amber 10 more years, I guess, or seven
yeah,
seasons
like
or something
in
like
some
that. I don't
years,
know.
in some years he'll be
He's
a
only
lot
like
better.
19. Like he's like 19, 20
Yeah,
years
he's
old.
young. He's young. That's what I'm saying. Like, give
Give
him
him 10
time.
more
Like,
years.
I'm not throwing him out there to be my starter. Not if I expect to win. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that type of time to do that. Like, I don't have time to like let him get better. Like, no, you need somebody in there now with the team you got now, with the players you got now. You need somebody in there now that can move your offense, that can take things in control and make it happen. But hypothetically, but not going to take the Butchers away. I'll put Butchers up there in the playoffs. I'll say they'll go to the playoffs again, but they won't. To me, they won't be the favorite to win it, but they will be in the runnings next year. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's about where I would put him
And
too.
Vasa, and Vasa,
Let's not even
Vasa
speculate
going to
about
the playoffs.
2024.
Vasa
I mean,
going to the playoffs.
you can't count the worlds out, and we know why. But let's not even speculate. We got a couple more minutes here. I guess we kind of were talking about the Maple Bowl, but just last thoughts on it. Was there any performances that really stood out to you in this game, different than
I
what we've
mean,
already talked about? Like
the
anyone
big
else that we didn't talk about?
the big one for me, and I just want to make sure we give him enough flowers, is Lucas Erla. I mean, the 4
Yeah.
catches, 129, 3 TDs. One was a 73-yard bomb on a post route. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta
yeah.
give him his flowers, man.
He had the biggest. I think him and Wellington, but more Lucas. Lucas, I could tell that he's resilient. He's one of those guys who like he understands his position on the team and he understands what his abilities are. And that was a big game for him. 3 TDs, being a young guy in a championship game, that's major. That's something he'll never forget in his whole life.
Yeah.
He'll never forget that. And I think that was great that we got to see it. He definitely balled out. We'll see how, I want to see what he is, you know what I'm saying, some years under Miko Seffernan. I want to see, all of them and see what's in store next year.
Well, if you really want to see what he's like, I'm pretty sure he's got a game this weekend coming up because they have the national U19 team game against Denmark. No breaks for the kids.
He better
No
score
breaks
6
for the
touchdowns in this
kids.
game. He got to
I
score
think
6 touchdowns. If not, we don't want to hear best nothing if you're playing against 19-year-olds. I don't want to hear nothing.
he's 17.
I don't care. He's the top of the top. He's the top of the top.
What he's supposed to do?
If he just worked this 20-something-year-old, this game should be nothing. Who's his quarterback?
Just gonna be Jerry Siloma, I think. The Roosters' backup quarterback, young guy. I mean, he's
okay.
in my opinion, he's better than Ambro. So he's getting better than that. It ain't like he got Ambro as quarterback. So he should be fine. But again, it's also one of those things where you know how national teams are. And also he might be tired. Dude just won a championship. If I was
he's
him,
17, man. He ain't
I wouldn't
tired,
even
man.
go.
17-year-olds don't get tired, man.
17-year-olds can drink long drink out here. So
they can do everything.
I'll be
man.
the whole week.
When I was 17, I have a whole hour session before the game. Like, I'm ready, man. He full of energy though.
He weighs like 20 kilos though, so that go right through that guy.
Smaller guy.
But yeah, hats off to Lucas Erla. He had a great season. It's one of the reasons why I feel like they have the best receiving core, because when you look at the season, this group, they've had games where different out of these 3 receivers, different guys came up. And even in this game, we spoke a lot about like Miko Sepinen being the guy. And he done what he did all year. He made some really good plays and moved the sticks. But to see Lucas have a breakout game in the biggest game of his career, like there's no topping that. He's on the U19 team and he plays on the national team, and that's awesome. But it's not gonna top, scoring 3 touchdowns in the Maple Bowl in your rookie season in the Maple League. Yeah. Like that's an incredible accomplishment.
That's Al Bundy accomplishments right there. For real. Like, he gonna tell this story for 30 years from now.
Like when he tells his story and he's like 30 years old, no one's gonna believe him. They're gonna be like, "No, you made that up." But ask me, I'll say, "Yeah, I was there. I seen it happen." But I think that's it for the Maple Bowl. I think Maple Bowl 44 is over. We enjoyed it. The 2023 Maple League season is over. This will be our last podcast of the year. We're not putting out anything else. That's it. Any last words before we get out of here, guys? This is it.
Man, just in case we don't reconvene together for next season, I did enjoy, this whole season. Another season with y'all, man. It was fun. You know what I'm saying? We got into it. I came in second, but it's all good. If we didn't include Spence, I would have been in first. So
don't care about them damn pick'ems.
But no, man, it's been a good season. Like I always tell everybody, it's nothing personal. You know what I'm saying? We're not experts, but we're not bums either. You know what I mean? So our word actually do mean something. And at the same time, it's always opinions. And everybody's entitled to those. But at the end of the day, what we want to see is, good football. We want to see respectable players. We want to see good character, all that stuff, man, and talk noise in the midst of it. So this season is definitely fun. It was an interesting one. You never know what's going to happen in the Maple League, man. But, we made it to the end, baby. We here. You know what I'm saying? Another season down. Shout out to the Butchers, though, for winning the championship. I can't hate on y'all for that. Y'all did that. Hey, salute, enjoy. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll see what's up next year.
I mean, for me, I feel like the season's flown by in a wink. Like we've got to the end and that's it. Again, just echoing, congratulations to the Butchers. Done a hell of a job in the final. Done a great job all season. You definitely deserved it on the day. Like you were the better team on the day. And that's how it be sometimes. If you're the better team on the day and you show up and your guys show up, you're going to come out with that victory. And that's exactly what they did. But yeah, guys, it's been a pleasure this season. When I've been here, I like to have made more, but hey, life gets in the way sometimes. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. It's been a ride. Hopefully we continue with this, and it's not the end. But if it is, it's been a ride.
Yeah, and just so y'all know, Chris, he missed some of the shows because he was out there losing championships. Yes, he was out there getting silvers.
He might be cursed too.
He out there missing the show, and we like, well, you better win. And he's like, well, we lost. Oh, on the podcast, you're gonna lose. I mean, sure.
Hey, man, if we'd have won as well, I'd have retired my ass from contact this year. I wanted to retire, and I can't retire now. I'm playing no retire.
Vince brought that Crocs curse back to the UK.
Yeah, Spence brought that curse with him. But yeah, for me, my hat is getting all twisted. But go Butchers. Great season. I believe in y'all. I believe in y'all every week this season. Y'all know it. I always had y'all back. I was always on y'all's side. I was always saying, go Butchers, represent, Pourvu, all that stuff. Now, it was a great season. I think everybody did what they could. It was very interesting. Good to have an interesting season for the Maple League. And if we come back, we come back. If we don't, we don't. Either way, y'all know what it is. Yep. Never. Oh, no, I forgot. I didn't say it right. Until next time, if there is a next time, never forget.
T.
I.
F.
We gone.
And we gone.
American football in Finland.